are you, Aidan?
I'm doing well. It's kind of humid here today, but it's nice. Not too hot.
All
How are
right.
you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. I am in my home in New Jersey, so it's pretty hot, but I can't feel it because my aircon is on. But you're in Woodstock, right?
Yep. Yeah.
How
Woodstock, New York.
how is it compared to, the urban setting?
Well, it's a lot quieter.
Mhm.
It's interesting because it's smaller, it's really, really noticeable when there's a lot of tourists that come. In the city, obviously, there's always tourists coming, but it's so common, but here it's like very specific times of the year that people all come at the same time and they're all looking at the tie-dye so it's pretty interesting. It's like the Woodstock peace sign hippie thing. That's very much part of the identity of the town, and peace is very much part of that identity as well. Well, I'm Aidan Ferris. I'm 21 years old, and I grew up in Phoenicia, New York, which is a really small town. It's like the village of Phoenicia. And so there's woods all around my house. I grew up right next to this river called the Esopus, and so that's part of, like, every single summer I would go and spend every day down in the river, and I think that has a big influence on who I am today and how much I connect with nature. My mom's also an herbalist and a gardener, so she was always telling me to go outside, and when I was sick I had to take echinacea and stuff, so I've had a very earthy background. And I played outside, and we didn't have any video games, and so when I was around 15, I got involved with activism because that's when I first started really noticing that something was wrong on our earth and that we weren't taking care of it in the way that we should. So I started doing small, like, activism, getting petitions signed and whatnot, and then went to college after doing an AmeriCorps program.
Oh, nice.
Which was really great. I did 10 months of service through AmeriCorps, and I got to travel around the country, which was really nice. I actually spent a lot of time in New Jersey, which is kind of funny because I was thinking that I was going to travel all over the place, and then I went to New Jersey, and that was like right in my backyard. But yeah, I was there during Hurricane Sandy, and then I went to this nonviolent direct action in DC about the Keystone Pipeline in 2014, and there I heard this guy named Scott Martinez speak. He was 13 at the time, and I was completely blown away by him because I had never seen someone younger than me get up and talk like that, and say these such powerful things. So I reached out to them, and he told me about Earth Guardians, and they told me about this program RYSE, which is Rising Youth for a Sustainable Earth. And so I applied to that and got on the youth council. And after I got on the youth council, which is kind of like the principal decision makers of RYSE, I decided to start an Earth Guardians crew here in Woodstock because I saw that as exactly what we needed and what the youth here needed to get engaged and do things that are important and helpful for our world instead of getting lost in. Another thing about Woodstock is there's a drug problem. So, like, young people get really consumed in that sort of stuff, and I felt like Earth Guardians would be a great way for youth to put their energy into something productive and feel like they can really make changes and have a purpose rather than just falling into that hole of drug abuse.
Yeah.
It's actually a kind of funny story on how I specifically got involved in activism. I was when I was in the beginning of my 15th year, I was pretty lost. I was kind of consumed by that Woodstock drug scene, and it wasn't good, and I knew it wasn't good, but I couldn't really pull myself out of it. And then I went and saw that movie Avatar, the one with the blue people, in IMAX 3D, and it was the most intense experience I had had up to that point in that way. I was just sitting through the movie, and all I could think of is this is showing me what we're doing to our earth. Like when the people come in and they just wanted to mine all of that stuff, and they wanted to rip down the tree of life, and I saw our species in that. I saw the human race doing that to our planet. And it really, really spoke to me, and I got pretty upset because it was the first time that it hit me like that, and it was so sudden. Because right before that, I had been like shopping in the mall and like being a very consumeristic person, and then 2 hours later, I was like completely different. So then I decided, instead of letting myself get really depressed about it, that I could do something about it, and that I could change the way that I live my life and lead by example and show others and try to educate them on how they can make a difference as well, and try to help them understand why it's important. So that was really how I started getting involved. And then all of that other stuff, that realization of like, wow, I grew up in a beautiful place, and my mom was such a great influence on me, telling me to go play outside, and I resented her for a while, but I am so appreciative now that I got to have this upbringing. It's definitely hard, and I struggle with that realization still, because knowing that there are these huge changes going on is quite frightening. But at the same time, I know that if we as a human race can come together in peace and harmony, and come together and work as one instead of squabbling over who did what, who's causing the problems, that's not what's important. All that's important is where we go from here, and how we can approach these problems with a mindset that has solutions there. We may not have the solutions at the tip of our tongue, but have something in your head that's pushing you to look for the solutions rather than to just focus on the problem, which is something that I see often, and that was something that I really struggled with. But I think that I've been given a lot of hope lately, specifically within the last year, because I feel like people are really waking up all over the place, and they're seeing that they're not alone, and that there's so many organizations and brilliant people who are stepping up, and the network is becoming really extensive and quite powerful. So like when I found Earth Guardians, it was like I felt like I was home. I felt like I really had found my place, because I wanted to work with youth, and I wanted to get them activated and motivated to make a difference. And Earth Guardians gives them the network and the tools to take those leadership positions, which is something that when I was in high school I was really missing. There was nothing for youth. It was just adults getting petitions signed, and that was really hard for me.
So could you elaborate a little bit more on Earth Guardians? Like, what do they exactly do, just for other people to know?
So Earth Guardians' mission is to protect the earth, air, water, and atmosphere, so that our generation and those to come can inherit a just, healthy, and sustainable planet. So that's a pretty lofty goal, but I think that they're doing a great job at it. It's a youth-driven, intergenerational movement of people who are stepping up into leadership positions in their own communities, and facing their front lines and working with solutions in mind to bring about a healthier future. And there is 107 crews, that's what the groups are called, all over the world. There's a couple in Africa, there's some in Europe, there's one in Australia, one in New Zealand, one in all, I mean, there's several all over the U.S., a bunch in South America. It's really incredible, the network of youth that don't need to feel alone anymore, that know that there are others who are working just as hard as they are to protect their lands, to protect their water, to protect their atmosphere. So for example, Earth Guardians started in Boulder, and some of their major accomplishments have been getting pesticides out of their parks. So the city of Boulder can't spray any pesticides, which is great. And they also got a fee on plastic bags. So small steps like that, but also quite large steps. They're working on some law cases that are partnering with Our Children's Trust. And the lawsuits are we're suing the federal and state governments based on the public trust doctrine, which is a document that states that there are certain things that fall under public trust and need to be protected for future generations. And our atmosphere doesn't fall under it. It's not included in that. So we are challenging the state and federal governments to include that, because this is something that is essential for all life, for our generation and every single generation to come, and every generation before that, before us. We all need the atmosphere. So if we just let it be destroyed by pollution, then we're going to be in big trouble. So we also are looking to urge state governments and also the federal government, although they kind of just did it with the Clean Power Act, but we'd like to see more of that sort of nature. Basically declare that this is an emergency, it's a climate emergency, and we have to take action, and we have to treat it like a Hurricane Sandy, or, something that would need immediate response and then mitigation. And we don't see that. There are all of these disasters happening, but nobody's linking them.
Yeah.
Even though the science shows that climate change causes more frequent and intense storms, as well as wildfires and other natural disasters.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, but it's positive.
Yeah. For me, it's forests, because where I live, you can kind of see behind me, it's just like,
yeah, it's gorgeous.
trees everywhere. I really, really, really love trees. They're my teachers in a lot of ways. I feel grounded when I just go and stand by one, and so when I think about things like deforestation in rainforests, as well as in Canada, and all over the world, just the degradation of our forests and our life source, basically, because the trees are what provide us with the most oxygen, and as well water through their transpiration. So something that I'm most passionate about is protecting our forests and reforestation, which is kind of like, if you come with it with a solution-based mind, it's not deforestation is the problem, it's reforestation is the solution. We need to rapidly reforest this planet and just plant trees everywhere.
Nice.
But I definitely want to work hard at protecting our forests.
And you've made a really great start with it by doing all these movements and just being you, right?
Thanks.